What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Father Son Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Paul.
My name is Justin. I think this is your first intro you've done on this Monday podcast in 3 weeks or something like that. So you're back for the
I'm
intro.
back. I'm
It's
back.
been back. All right.
I didn't have to work late. I'm back. I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was like getting out at a normal time.
Been very busy. Thank you, I guess I can say. But if you
All
guys
right,
don't know
you're
who we
welcome.
are, we're the Father Son Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Justin. My dad's name is Paul. We've been doing this ever since June. You follow me on Twitter at JustinFSFF, and the podcast Twitter is at FatherSonFF. Subscribe if you guys are new. We do 3 episodes per week in season. We had a waiver wire episode today. We had a special guest on. We'll get into that in a second. And then we also have a trade targets and review next episode. And we have a start sit episode. We're going to be going to the Listener League this week with a Listener League member. Surprised who that is. We'll get into that when we get there. But before we get into today's waiver wire episode, Dad, go over to quantedge.com. They dropped their prices down. It's lower than it was. You can use promo code FSFF for $10 off that cut down price. So not only is the site saving you money, we're helping you save more money. So you're tired of getting crushed by the pros, DFS players, and sports bettors. Listen up. Go over to quantedge.com. They have tools you need to play like a pro. They have a lineup optimizer, an injury tool, wide receiver cornerback matchups, head-to-head tool. You're going to be armed with everything you need to win. You can make up to 150 lineups in seconds, see matchups to exploit, compare players to help you make the right decision, the people you're on the fence about. And then you get also exclusive access to industry experts, articles, podcasts, and the TQE community by participating in the premium membership chat. So once again, it's $10 off the cut down price. You go over there now to quantedge.com by using code FSFF.
That's right. It's money in our pockets, which is really good.
Yeah. And all right, let's get into this interview.
Let's do it.
All right, and today we are joined by Etan Mosia. What's going on, Etan?
What's up, Etan?
Hey guys, not too much. It was a really fun week. The bipocalypse really hit me hard here.
Yeah, I think it was 8 teams on bye, so definitely Saquon was on bye. I know you were talking about before the show. You had Saquon, and you couldn't play him. And who did you go up against? Tell the viewers who you went up against right there.
Yeah, I had the misfortune of going up against, nobody special, just CMC and Alvin Kamara in the same week. So I got smashed.
Yeah, once you had those two guys who both just had a game, just go off like that, I don't think there's a really way you could come back from that. So unfortunately, that's just how matchups go in fantasy football. It doesn't even matter how many points you score. It matters about who you play that week. And then we have to look forward to next week, Dad. So waiver wire for week 10. It's getting into the playoff season. So who are you picking up for quarterback, Dad, this week?
Quarterback, I'm going to say Alex Smith. He hasn't shown much upside this year. I mean, but this week he topped 300 yards against the Falcons for the first time all season. So, and he also tossed multiple scores in just three of 8 games. But his Week 10 matchup against the Bucks should put him on the radar again because I think he's going to have another big week. Tampa has allowed an average of 322 passing yards and 2.8 touchdowns per game. So I look for Alex Smith to go forward moving here. Like I said, he hasn't shown much upside this year, but the last game is very positive.
Yeah, I like that pick. I know one time a team's facing against Tampa Bay, it's probably going to be a shootout, at least for them in the first half. So I do like that pick. I'm going to go ahead and say Baker Mayfield. We talked about his matchup he has this coming week. I think it's a good one. He didn't look too good, but I think he's found Duke Johnson, who we're going to talk about when we get to running backs, to finally looks like have a role in this offense. And this new offensive coordinator seems to remember that he's on the team. I don't know why. Whenever Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson were there, they didn't use Duke Johnson at all. But that's good news for people who are holding on to him, but he's also on a waiver wire. But in Week 10, the Browns face Atlanta, the other matchup you kind of want to target. So I see Baker Mayfield if he's available. Pick him up and try to start him. So what about you, Etan? Who are you looking for quarterbacks? Who are you looking to pick up this week to play?
I got a couple guys. The first one I'm looking at is a guy that we'll see tonight, Dak Prescott. And I really think that he has kind of turned around since the beginning of the season, the last 4 games or so. He has been, I think, a low-end QB1, and I think that just improves with the addition of Amari Cooper. What Dak Prescott excels at, to me, is very similar to what Russell Wilson excels at, and that's being able to extend plays and to make off-schedule throws that are outside of the offense. I think Mari Cooper helps with that because Mari Cooper has a couple of traits that are going to help Dak Prescott find him. One of those is Mari Cooper averages one of the highest yards of separation when targeted. So I really think that Dak, who, like an Alex Smith, isn't necessarily a guy to force it in the tight windows, is going to enjoy having a receiver who's actually going to flash open in front of his eyes before he has to release that ball. Number one. Number two, Cooper actually is one of the best receivers in the league when it comes to average yards of cushion off the line that defenders give him. And again, I think that's just going to allow Dak to be able to get those quick slants from Amari and just have a consistent target in that offense that maybe he hasn't really had so far this season. So I think he's already turning it around with the rushing upside that he provides, especially over the last 4 games. And I think that just improves with the addition of what could be a number one wide receiver in Amari Cooper.
Yeah, definitely some good stats right there, and it definitely makes a case for it. And we're also recording this before the Monday Night Football game, so we have no recollection of what's going to happen against this Titans game. But I can see Amari Cooper, like I was saying before the podcast, get implemented early and often, and you can see Dak Prescott finding him because of those stats that Amari Cooper creates that cushion and separation that Dak needs. So definitely gonna be interesting to see.
I hope going to a new team too that he helps out Dak a lot because Dak's number one target right now is Cole Beasley, but I think Amari Cooper is going to step in and help his value tremendously. I hope because he hasn't done it at Oakland.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And who's your other quarterback you were looking at, Etan?
The other guy I was looking at is matchup based in just the same manner as you were picking up a guy going against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to pick the guy that's going against Tampa Bay next week, and that's Josh Rosen. In this last game, I believe he had 40 attempts, which I think was one of the highest of his career so far. He also got DJ involved a little bit more than he has been in weeks past. With the new offensive coordinator, we saw 4 targets to DJ, which, while isn't necessarily what you would expect from a guy with his talent level, is at least an improvement on what we saw in the beginning portion of the year. So I think Josh Rosen will have a good game because he'll be forced to throw to keep up with the Tampa Bay offense. And he has a couple main targets there in Fitzgerald and DJ and in Kirk that will cause some problems to Tampa Bay corners.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to throw one more out there for our listeners, and that's going to be my favorite quarterback to watch right now. That's Nick Mullins. Matchup against the Giants, primetime. He looks good. It's the end of the C.J. Berthed era, I think. 16-22 for 262 yards and 3 touchdowns against the awful Raiders, and now they go against the awful Giants. So it's a little bit of a risky one, probably riskiest out of the 4 people already mentioned, but if he's available and you're struggling for QBs with buys or whatever, definitely go and pick him up, and I say plug him in. Why not?
Hey, he played well last week.
Yeah, with no film on him, so now they have some film on him, but I don't think it's enough to be worried about. So on to running backs. Dad, who's the running back you're looking to add this week?
The one guy I actually like 2 this week, but I'll give you one now and I'll give you one at the end. It would be Mike Davis. He's been extremely efficient when given an opportunity this year, but the only thing standing in his way was Chris Carson. Well, he tried to play through an injury in week 9 and he left at halftime. So I think he's done for a few weeks. So that's going to boost up Mike Davis and give him the opportunity that he needs. He continued to be a great option. He turned 15 carries into 62 yards, and he also caught another 7 passes for 45 yards. So if Carson is out for a long time, like I said, he'll be a borderline number 2 running back moving forward.
Yeah, it's definitely one to pick up, and I'm glad I picked him up before this week happened in the home league where I need wins. So I have him on my bench, and hopefully you guys still rostered him, because I know a lot of people had him rostered, then they dropped him. So if someone dropped him in your league, definitely go pick him up. Mine's going to be Duke Johnson. I think Baker, I think the stat is connected with him on 26 or 30 throws already, and their wide receiver corpse is hurting. All they have is Jarvis, and then behind it, it's just people who can't catch or people who are injured. So I think that Duke's going to move into the number 2/3 option in this offense for the passing game behind Njoku and Landry, and that's enough to keep, I guess, things interested, because right now their offensive scheme, they're always going to be behind in games, and your defense is playing pretty well. But against the Falcons next week, who have a good offense, I believe that they're going to be in a shootout. So definitely pick up Duke Johnson in PPR leagues, especially. Etan, who's your running back you're looking to pick up? Who's your favorite running back this week to pick up on waiver wires?
Favorite running back to pick up this week is Theo Riddick, and that has everything to do with who the Detroit Lions are facing next week. They just gave up 10 sacks in this past weekend's game, so we know that offensive line is struggling a bit, and they'll need to get the ball out quick without Golden Tate to be able to give you those quick slants underneath routes that kind of help Matt Stafford mitigate some of the pass rush he's seeing. I think he'll need another option. And in this past game, Theo Riddick actually caught 7 targets against the Chicago Bears, who have one of the league's best defenses. They'll need to employ a similar game plan, although hopefully they don't capitulate in the same manner that they did on Sunday. But they're not going to have much time to be able to get the ball down to wide receivers like Marvin Jones. I expect to see Kenny Golladay a little bit more involved than he has been recently, just because he can run a few more of those intermediate routes than maybe Marvin Jones can. But I really see the main beneficiary of all the circumstances surrounding the Detroit Lions as definitely being Theo Riddick for the foreseeable future while they're facing a heavy pass rush.
Yeah, I like that. And with them also losing Golden Tate, you can probably see some more slot work from him too. So PPR leagues fire this guy up. I think he can be a nice little flex play or even running back 2 play in some weeks, like you mentioned, or offensive line not doing so well. Dad, you like to pick up a Theo Riddick this week?
No, I do, especially with Golden Tate gone. So
Yeah.
they're going to rely on him in the passing down, so I like that pick.
All right, give us another running back, Dad.
This guy, I said last week, and if you didn't pick him up last week, he might not be available, but Elijah McGuire from the Jets. He made his 2018 debut and immediately stepped into the number 2 role. I think he had 6 carries for 23 yards. He also caught, I believe, 3 catches for 40 yards, maybe. It was a sloppy, low-scoring game, but his 5 targets ranked 3rd on the team, and he did better than Crowell and Cannon also. So he should settle into about 10 touches per week with Powell out of the picture.
Yeah, I like that. That's who I was gonna say. And then I guess one more guy, a sneaky little thing. He was on bye this week, but Josh Adams, we mentioned him last week. He looked good, so maybe he's gonna get more work going forward. But this offense has a lot of mouths to feed, so I wouldn't expect a lot. But I do like him from a talent perspective, and hopefully Doug Peterson gets him more involved. Any other running backs you want to mention, Etan?
I don't have too many fancy stats for any other running backs to mention, but another guy that I would like to see a little bit more out of is Ito Smith. He may not be on waiver wires just because there was a bit of a bump in terms of his level of notoriety in the past couple of weeks with the incumbent Freeman getting placed on IR. But I do think Ito Smith is just going to continue to be as good as he's been so far. They have no problems using him in the red zone. He's rushed for a number of touchdowns already. We've seen Tevin Coleman actually be a little bit more active in the passing game than he was in the rushing game. And I think the reason for that is because they're trying to kind of split the roles between the 2 guys. So I can see Ito Smith, going up against a defense that's going to allow him to get some yards on the ground next weekend.
Yeah, that's a nice little sneaky one. And he
Yep, I
seems
like
to
that.
have that red zone roll locked down. So I'm gonna go on to wide receivers now. I'm gonna start out with one of my favorite wide receivers to watch right now, and that's Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I don't know if he's available. He's owned in a lot of leagues because everyone saw the hype. But now that Allison's looking to be out for the rest of the year with the groin surgery, I think he has to have. Fire this guy up to be in all 3 wide receiver sets with Aaron Rodgers, and I'm doing a lot of things to acquire him in any dynasty league right now, just so I can have this guy tethered to Aaron Rodgers. Stat line last night, he hit 3 for 101. He had some big plays, but not enough targets in my opinion. But I can see it switching depending on who they're playing, and the Patriots had a good defense and they played well, as people saw last night. Dad, do you like Marquez Valdes-Scantling? I hope.
Yes, I do. I do.
And what about you, Etan?
Of course. I actually had him on my team. I got him off the waiver wire after that big performance in the preseason at the beginning of this year. He looks to really have solidified his role as the number 3 option in that passing game, as the number 2 wide receiver in that passing game behind Devontae Adams. He is just a size speed specimen. I mean, he's 6'4". He runs a 4.3 40. I mean, the guy can move, and the guy has an incredible catch radius. And Aaron Rodgers clearly wants to see a little bit more of him because he's been targeting him at a decent rate, at a decent clip over the past 5 games. I believe I was looking into this yesterday. Over the past 5 games, I think he's received about a 16% target share, which ranks third on that team. So he's already greatly involved, and that was with Randall Cobb healthy. So I do think MVS is going to be a top, well, a wide receiver too before the end of the season. I do think that if you happen to play in dynasty leagues, he is going to be a hot ad because you want anybody tethered to Aaron Rodgers, and he seems to have that position locked up when you consider that both Randall Cobb and Geronimo Allison are technically free agents next season, with Geronimo being a restricted free agent.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if he's even if he's on another roster, I'd offer quite a bit to get this guy right now. I'd pay up a little bit, even though his value is probably gonna be high, depending on how the owner feels about him. Give us a wide receiver you like this week, Etan.
Wide receiver I like this week is Tyrell Williams, and honestly, statistically, it's kind of hard to come up with reasons to suggest him other than the fact that he scores touchdowns. Now, I know that's not the stickiest stat out there, which is why I said it is difficult to kind of see him keep this up. But, I mean, if he's going to be targeted in the end zone, I think we have to kind of take it as face value. So far, he actually ranks second league-wide when targeted. The QB rating that Phillip Rivers actually has when targeting him is number 2 in the league. He also is one of the best receivers in the league, actually ranking number 1 when it comes to fantasy points per target, just because he's making the most of those deep passes in the end zone. Other than that, I mean, nothing necessarily stands out, but you just have to understand the type of receiver he is. This is a guy that has a 4.48 40-yard dash, 104.1, 81st percentile speed score, 89th percentile burst score, high agility score, catch radius. This guy is an athletic marvel, and we saw a couple of seasons ago what he could be when given opportunity back when Keenan Allen was injured. Keenan Allen's role in the offense does limit his upside this season, but we've seen without Hunter Henry that he's still in line for quality targets. And at the end of the day, if a guy's scoring touchdowns, I mean, you kind of just have to roll with it if you're desperate and you need somebody to kind of plug in on those bye weeks.
Gotcha. Yeah, definitely worth a spot. And I like those athletic measurables. It's always good to see people in the NFL have those good measurables. That way they can have a little advantage over the other elite talents. Dad, give us a wide receiver.
If you remember, I said that in preseason too, when all the hype was on Mike Williams. Everybody said you need to own Mike Williams. Mike Williams is the man. And what did I say? Don't forget about Tyrell. And look what he's doing. Yeah. And he's on my team. I love that even more.
You must be.
That's definitely a good call. Good call.
Who's the wide receiver you're looking at this week, Dad?
We don't always get him right, but when we write, we like to boast on him. So I'm gonna say a guy that's probably not on a lot of guys' radar, but he should be after this week, and that's Maurice Harris from Washington. How can you not like a guy who had 12 targets this week? He was Alex Smith's favorite target. The defense finally put Smith into a must-pass situation, and Harris was remarkably efficient, catching 10 of 12 targets for 124 yards. So if that's not convincing enough, I believe they play the worst pass defense in the NFL this week coming up, and that's the Bucs.
Wow. You stole my guy. I'm actually surprised you stole my guy because my dad.
Well, I mean, he's a guy. Well, he is a sneaky guy, but I mean, you can't ignore the 12 targets he had this week. That's for sure.
It's definitely a lot of targets right there, and targets equal opportunity, and opportunity equals hopefully fantasy points. So I like that. We'll do one more each. I'm gonna say I'll go a little sleeper-ish. Danny Amendola, people are sleeping on. I like him over Devontae Parker just because I feel like he's going to be a Jarvis Landry-esque guy for Brock Osweiler in this offense that's dealing with lots of injuries around there. So enough said on him. No one really had a good week, I guess, this week for them. He had 7 targets, though, and caught 5 of them this week over the Jets. So more targeted than Parker. And we just talked about targets with Maurice Harris, so same thing. So, Etan, another wide receiver you like this week?
I'm a Denver Bronco fan, so this one's close to my heart. Cortland Sutton. I understand he didn't necessarily perform as people would expect in his first real debut as a starting wide receiver in the NFL, not just in 3 wide receiver sets. I think that there's a lot more to come from Cortland Sutton. There's a few things that kind of lead me to believe that. The first is his total target distance or air yards. He actually ranked 29th league wide in terms of total air yards. So he is getting high value targets. And to kind of further on that point, his end zone target share of 29.4%, 5 targets over the course of the season so far, actually ranked 21st league wide. So again, he's seeing a lot of looks down the field. He's seeing a lot of looks in the end zone, and now he's actually going to get the targets to match with the departure of Demaryius Thomas. I think that fantasy gamers who are patient with Cortland Sutton are going to be seeing a lot from him moving forward. Though I do think that you need to grab him a week in advance and just kind of bite the bullet with this coming bye week. I think you grab him now and just hope that he'll be better week 11 on.
Yeah, nice little buy low too if he's already owned because he didn't have a great week. I blame Keenum for that, but I think after this bye week with more practice time, I mean they already had a whole season, but hopefully more practice time with this new looking offense, they get him more involved because he is a athletic freak and I want to see him do well. So add him a week early, like Etan said, or trade for him, and you probably get him pretty cheap right now by some sell highs, which we'll give you on next episode. But I like that one, and then we're gonna go on tight ends now. And it's an ugly position, but I think there's a couple dudes this week. My first one, I'll get the obvious one out of the way. Jack Doyle, if he's available, please pick him up. Looks to be a tight end one rest of the season with Andrew Luck in, and that offense is starting to click and fully function. So I definitely want to see Jack Doyle own on any listener's roster that he's available in this league. I think that goes there. Dad, I'll give another one before you go. You go, Dad. I'm gonna say C.J. Uzomah. People dropped him. AJ Green's out for at least 2 weeks. He's coming off a bye week, so hopefully Andy Dalton targets him and Boyd. I would not want to start Andy Dalton in any league without AJ Green playing, but he looks to be number 2 in targets this week behind Boyd. That'd be my prediction. So I like the targets, and hopefully he's available in some of your leagues if you have a bye week for tight end. So, Dad, give us your tight end you're trying to add this week.
You would add this guy, but he's on a bye this week from Denver. Jeff Hoyerman, is that how you say his name? Hoyerman?
Herman, I think, right?
Yeah, Jeff Hireman.
There you go.
So they have a bye this week, but still, it was his biggest game of the season. He had 10 catches on 11 targets for 83 yards and a score. So he's now seen 5+ targets in 4 of his last 6 games. And I believe he's entered the week sitting top 3 among tight ends in both red zone targets and targets inside 10-yard line. A lot of people probably don't know that's that either, but moving forward, if you have a spot in your bench, pick him up. Like I said, he's on a bye this week, but he's a good guy to stash away because the tight end spot is so difficult to judge.
Very. He did look good this week. He had 24 points. 10 catches, 83 yards, and touchdowns. So definitely good right there. Yep. Etan, you got any tight ends for us in this awful tight end year?
I do. I lucked out, actually. In my main home Dino League, I happened to have kept the faith in Eric Ebron, and I grabbed Trey Burton off of waivers at the beginning of this year. So I'm kind of sitting pretty compared to the rest of the league when it comes to tight ends. But for those that aren't necessarily as lucky as I was in that regard, I would say go out and get Ben Watson. You want to target concentrated offenses. What I mean by concentrated offenses is offenses with just a few main targets. For the Saints, the 3 targets that Drew Brees really throws to consistently are Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Ben Watson. And we saw that with the touchdown that he had this past weekend. The other receivers in that offense, the Traquan Smiths, the Ingrams in some games, these guys don't necessarily contribute week in, week out. So if there's a way to finagle a touchdown out of a guy and kind of just hope you can get that from a week-to-week basis, I believe Ben Watson is one of your best bets. Also, playing against the Cincinnati Bengals defense will help. I don't think Cincinnati will be as good this coming week just because AJ Green is likely to not play like you were saying before. But I do believe the offense is good enough to put up enough points to prevent the Saints from running all day. So I think they'll have to pass in this one as well, and that should just help all the pass catchers in that offense.
Yeah, I like that one. And I don't don't really have any more tight ends for anyone to add. I think deep, Chris Herndon is always there, hopeful bet for a touchdown, and Jordan Thomas I think would be the other two. Do you have any other tight ends you're looking at that, or is this just like you rather just play no one at this point?
No, you got to play somebody, but no, I like all them picks. Herndon has definitely got to go get if you need somebody this week. I like Etan's pick of Watson because Drew Brees likes to throw to him, and Drew Brees, like I said, is having a fantastic year this year. He's back throwing the ball now instead of just running all the time. So the whole Saints team is looking really good.
Yeah, for sure. So that's going to do it for this week's waiver wire episode. We gave you some good quarterbacks to look at with some great stats for each running back and wide receiver that Etan had. We didn't have those measurables like that, but more reason to go get those guys, especially Cortland Sutton and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And I think those are the two biggest wide receivers and running backs I'd put my priority in for. Dad, would you rather, I want you to know, if you're looking for one spot and you need a flex spot or a tight end spot, I guess you say, would you rather pick up Jack Doyle this week or someone like a Christian Kirk? For me, it's Jack Doyle.
I'd probably say Jack Doyle.
Yeah, Jack Doyle. What about you, Etan, for that situation?
Jack Doyle or Christian Kirk. I mean, you would have to go Doyle. There really is no option when it comes to those two. That said, Christian Kirk has been having himself a bit of a breakout over the last few games. He seems to be having a connection with Josh Rosen, and again, that should be a shootout. So maybe if there was 1 week to go towards the Christian Kirk side, it might be this week.
Yeah, there you go. And then before we get out of here, where can people find you on Twitter, and what do you do in the fantasy community for people who don't know?
You can find me on Twitter at FF_WonderKid. I'm constantly writing articles for FF Dynasty 260. I also write for Fantrax HQ. You can find some of my work at AdvancedSportsLogic.com. You can also listen to my podcast at FFD260 on the FFD260 podcast, channel under the All 22 tab. So I'd definitely be very appreciative of anyone that had any questions or anything that I could potentially help them with for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I'll have that linked in the description below, your Twitter, and then people can go find all your articles and whatnot on their Twitter. So make sure you go follow him. Thank you for coming on, taking time out of your day to hop on our little small podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys for having me on. Keep doing good work. I've heard great things from the community with everything that you guys do. So really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, yeah, and that's going to do it for today's waiver wire episode, Dad. Not too much to talk about, and we're going to save our breath for the next episode for this week in review for this really weird week 9. A lot of teams on bye week, but we saw Julio get in the end zone. We're going to talk about that and more next episode. You ready for that, Dad?
We're ready for it. About time Julio got in the end zone. All his teammates jumped on him in the end zone. He's such a leader in that team, and it's good to see. Good to see him finally get in the end zone.
Good to see him finally get in the end zone. So, yeah, so you should subscribe if you guys are new. Go over to quantage.com. Use code FSFF to save money today, and we'll see you guys for the Week in Review and Trade Targets episode next time. All right, cool.